Folks, grab a seat and pour your drink neat as Whiskers and Whiskeys presents Tales of the Trophies, the Big Ten's greatest rivalries. Back again, it's Mike. With me, as always, my co-host EJ, and our special guest this time, EJ's cousin, Joe. Joe, what's going on? Say hi to the people.
Hey, guys. Great to be here. I'm excited to talk some football and talk some drinks.
Yes, welcome, Joe. Glad to have you here.
And it is worth noting that, our brand name, Whiskers and Whiskeys, a couple pieces to that that are very important. You got to like whiskey, and Joe checks that box. But the Whiskers part, that refers to the beard, right? And, Joe, not a full beard.
So I think I found a loophole here. It's not necessarily beards and whiskey and beards. It's whiskers, which I have a couple of them. So I think that qualifies me. That's through the loophole. So here I am, ready to go.
Yeah. We realized that we're now in our third episode and we didn't clarify the whiskers part of our name. So we just wanted to clarify that it didn't mean that we were cat enthusiasts or anything like that.
In fact, I hate cats.
Not to say that, at least I don't
check
hate
that
cats
box as well.
But yes, we are bearded gentlemen, and the brands with bearded anything is pretty much all taken. So
Dodge
Whiskers
roll,
was the next
cat stroll.
Yeah. So we because Joe's our guest here, we decided that he was going to pick our drink that we're going to have today. So Joe, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what we're drinking today?
Yeah. So did a little research. Big fan of cold brew coffee. So sticking with the whiskey theme, I went with a bourbon cold brew old fashioned.
And I've been staring at this thing for like 5 minutes now. And I cannot wait to just get it down my gullet. I'm so excited.
Well, if you guys want to get it started, we can try it out, and then I can chat about it.
You can talk about if I need
sure.
it. I need to have to sip of this. Cheers to you, my friend.
Cheers, guys.
Oh yeah. Oh, that'll do nicely. That'll do really nice.
So this cold brew old fashioned, I used a special bourbon that I had from New Holland Brewing. It's one of their limited releases, I believe.
So they make beer, but so we didn't talk about this earlier. They make beer, but they made this bourbon too.
Yeah, so they specialize in Dragon's Milk is one of their biggest beers. And they have a Dragon's Milk theme or a line of bourbon that they came out with. It's kind of 4 years in barrels, American oak barrels. Did a little research. 4 years, not necessarily beer barrels. It's 100 proof, and it's got vanilla, hints of burnt caramel.
I taste like the vanilla comes through. I didn't know if that was like from, I didn't know where it was coming from, but like it goes really nicely, like with the orange, because we have the orange peel in here too and everything. It's really nice.
Yeah, so traditional old fashioned. You got your bourbon, bitters, simple syrup, orange peel, and then added a little bit of cold brew in there as well. So just kind of a little bit of twist on it. And also kind of goes to their theme somewhat. This the tradition we're talking about today kind of revolves around Chicago, and this the old fashioned is rumored, not necessarily true. We're not going to say for sure.
It's all right. We speculate.
Yeah.
All the time.
So they're saying that the old fashioned originated in Chicago. Some people say that. Some people are against it. Yep. But some of the history that I did find in a little bit of research is that it was actually named in Chicago, the old fashioned. So back in the 1800s, politician Samuel Tilden dropped out of the election for his second presidential bid. And the Chicago Tribune reported that he was dropping out. And they mentioned that hot whiskeys, sour mashes, and old fashioned cocktails were used by political allies to toast to Tilden. And that was where the name began. And then even 2 years later, the Tribune was talking to a bartender from Chicago, and he said the old-fashioned cocktails were still in vogue. So that's kind of the background on how it connects to our chat this week.
I love old fashions. It's one of my favorite cocktails. So like, I guess it's good to know now. Like I can bust it out at the bar, and I also love cold brew. Like there's a nice little shop in town here, really really good coffee, and I had a red eye on ice with cold brew this morning. So I'm good to go today, boys. I'm ready.
So yeah, listeners beware. We've never had this drink before, and it has an upper and a downer, similar to like a vodka Red Bull. So we'll see how we're humming along here at the end.
After the cold brew red eye plus this, like I'm gonna be bouncing off of, but
then you'll hit the wall.
Yeah.
You bounce off the wall and then you'll drop from it.
Yeah, I'll crash at like 3 p.m. Right after we're done recording. I'll crash.
And I think Joe also said that he had like 2 full cups of cold brew prior to this. So.
Yeah, I had to do a little sampling before I picked up what we were going to use for today.
Joe and I are on the couch today, and we're just going to like tear this thing apart by the end of the.
And then we'll take a nap.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room. College football is finally back. It's here. It is the week of college football. We're really excited.
Let's go.
For some reason this year, there's a lot of conference games that are played at the beginning of the year, as well as the traditional non-conference. So there is a fantastic slate of games for week 1. And I just want to ask you guys, what game are you guys most excited about for this week?
Yeah, we're hashtag blessed, as the kids say, as the youth say these days, because it's kind of feast or famine these first 3 weeks. And like looking at the matchups right now, like it's a really great week 1, and the next couple of weeks are really good too. I mean, when you look at, like, I'm a big Crimson Tide fan, Roll Tide, and when we look at the matches for this week, you would think that like Alabama, Miami, that would be at the top of my list. But like, honestly, I am most excited by Louisiana, Texas. Like, I love me some Fun Belt football. The Raging Cajuns have been the toast of the Fun Belt these past couple of years. Their QB, what's his name? Levi Lewis. And he's coming back. Apparently, I didn't watch them that much last year. Last year was kind of a weird year, obviously, for many reasons, but I didn't watch them that much last year. I guess he's back. The whole O-line's back. That coach has done a phenomenal job with the Raging Cajuns. And another nice thing about the game, we get to find out if Texas is back.
Is Texas back? I don't think they can be if they lose this.
It's the best part of every college football season.
If they lose this one, that's it. The season can't really go anywhere but stay level there. You're not going to go up from that.
But if they win, then they're back, at least until they lose to like Iowa State.
Mike, do you know where this game's being played at? Is this a neutral? Is this in Texas?
Man, you would think I would do that type of research beforehand, but I sure don't. It just goes to show the type of preparedness. Someone's like screaming right now, like these guys are idiots.
That Raging Cajun fan.
Yeah.
So my game for the week, mine's the Penn State Wisconsin game. That's at Camp Randall. Just to let you know, Mike.
Yeah. Thanks.
I'm pretty excited. I'm a Big Ten guy, so interested to see kind of how both teams bounce back from last year with the condensed season. One point of interest for me was the QB Graham Mertz for Wisconsin. See kind of what he's really about. So.
Yeah, and Penn State, they always bring in a lot of good recruits. They obviously had a weirdly down year. I think as of now, the 2022 class is the actual number 1 rated class, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. They don't have any 5 stars, but they have like almost 15 4 stars, and that has them at the top. Yeah. I mean, which is pretty surprising, but still, like that they always.
Yeah, but you don't know until they start playing. I mean, 5-star, 3-star could outplay a 5-star. You never know.
I mean, down year though, like they really had like a down decade. Like I know that there's been a lot of controversy there and everything, but like still, like it's Penn State, like, and that's why Texas, like they're an institution too. Like, why are they not? I mean, they got Matthew McConaughey as their minister of culture. Why do I would, if I'm a stud like football player, I'm going to Texas just to get a chance to hang out with McConaughey.
Yeah, I mean, USC, Texas, there really isn't any excuses for the lack of recruits or the lack of just success because of the sheer amount of money, especially USC. I think every year, at least a quarter of 5-star recruits come from Los Angeles.
And the high schools, like, you have all the great private schools in LA, and not just private schools, but all this, like Texas football, Pennsylvania football, massive, like the best states for high school football. And these, like Penn State, Texas, USC can't recruit. Like, I mean, I guess I'm not complaining as an Alabama fan. I'm not complaining too much, but
no, that should be a really great game. It'll be interesting to see. Penn State has, returning quarterback, a new offensive coordinator. We'll see if they can compete with Ohio State. That's kind of the gold standard in the Big Ten, especially in the Big Ten East. So we'll see if anyone can
much
compete.
To the chagrin of my two co-hosts.
As I've mentioned, I'm a Michigan State fan, and Joe here is a Wolverines fan. So
we don't need to talk about that yet. Let's see how it goes. See how they start. But so, what's your game?
So my game is the college game day game. I can't really not talk about this, but Clemson, number 3 Clemson versus number 5 Georgia. This is going to be a great game. It's on a neutral site, ABC primetime game. Like I said, college game day is going to Charlotte at the Bank of America Stadium, which is where the Panthers play. So really for me, all eyes are on Clemson with life after Trevor Lawrence. So they're starting their sophomore quarterback, DJ Uiagalelei.
What was that?
Well, what was it? One more time?
Uiagalelei. I know. I did my research. He got into a couple games last year when Trevor Lawrence had COVID. But the competition was Boston College, and a good game, although a loss to Notre Dame. So it'll be interesting to see. He was a 5-star recruit. I think he was the number 1 recruit in the class. He's a big guy. They're calling the throw-in Samoan is a nickname for him.
Can't wait to say that one. Huh?
Yeah. So he's taking over the reins. So that's the big question mark for Clemson is how fast can he?
So Uiagalelei, like I've seen him. There's that Netflix show QB1, and they were they're at, I think he went to Mater D or whatever the other big private school is in Southern California, and St. John Bosco, and they were highlighting the starter, and Uiagalelei was a sophomore, and the starter was a senior. He played like crap. I guess he ended up going to Iowa State, but I don't think he's playing.
I watched that too, actually.
Yeah, but then Uiagalelei came in and dethroned him, and that kid's he's a boss, so he might be trouble. I think that Dabo reloads pretty well. My big question with that game, because I'm looking forward to it too, is obviously from an SEC perspective. I love Kirby. When he was at Alabama, there just is not a better defensive coordinator. He's a stud, and I definitely wish the best for him in that program. But man, I almost want him to get the monkey off his back and beat Saban, but I like you, Kirby, but not that much, pal.
Well, that's kind of my second thing to look for here is Georgia. There's high expectations this year. They have every year. They have a returning Heisman hopeful, JT Daniels, which remains to be seen whether or not his game will translate to the pros, but he's definitely a Heisman hopeful.
Yeah.
And honestly, to Mike's point here, I've actually seen a couple of experts that think this is the year with Alabama kind of losing a lot of the talent, having to break in a new quarterback, that this could be the year that they make the playoff and beat the Tide.
I mean, it's a tale as old as time. Alabama loses and reloads every year. Bryce Young he did go to Mater D, and the coach said is the best quarterback I've seen in all my years, 20 years at Mater D or whatever it is. And every year Georgia is going to ascend to the throne and Texas football's back every year.
Yeah. So, but also every year you can't really count out the Saban factor.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Until Texas gets to the SEC, and then they're back.
Now, I can't wait. I can't wait.
All right. Well, let's give you a little preview of this episode. So today we're talking about the one and the only Land of Lincoln Trophy. So this trophy is given to the winner between the Illini and the Wildcats Northwestern. So this is an in-state game. It's not a powerhouse rivalry, but
Illinois and Northwestern aren't powerhouses. And
no,
man, Northwestern's on the up.
That's true. That's true.
So this is actually a pretty evenly matched rivalry, which actually makes it pretty good. It might not get a lot of national spotlight, but it's a pretty interesting one.
We kind of saw that last week too, though, with Indiana Purdue. It's again two teams that aren't powerhouses, but still, it's an important rivalry for the folks of Indiana, the Hoosiers,
sure,
and the I don't know what you call people from Illinois. I guess Illini, but that's. I don't know.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Again, we speculate here a lot. Yeah. So I'll throw out. They're the Illini. Yeah.
So let me hit you guys with some fun facts. So this is actually the most recent rivalry trophy added in the Big Ten, but that streak will be broken later this year by another Northwestern trophy. So by the time this game is played, which is it's going to be played on the last week of the regular season in November, it will no longer be the newest trophy. And so we'll hit you with that trophy later on in the year. But
when was this one?
So this one was introduced in 2009.
Oh,
but it's actually the 5th trophy that's been introduced in this rivalry. So while this is a new trophy, technically the Land of Lincoln trophy, they've had a trophy in this matchup, 4 different ones, including this one, which we're going to get into.
Just find a bucket or a jug. Yeah, wait, hold on a second. Hold on. So you're telling me that these guys couldn't decide on a trophy, but we got a bucket and a jug that are like turn of the century old, like turn of the 20th century old.
It is not as easy as them wanting to change the trophy. They had to change the trophy.
Problematic.
All right.
Which we will get into.
Okay.
So guys, what are your first impressions here of this Land of Lincoln trophy?
Yeah, let me pull her up here. So the Land of Lincoln trophy, if I can get the old picture to come up here. Well, hold on. The first one I get to is actually not the Land of Lincoln trophy.
It should be back up at the top.
Oh, back
in
up
that
at
section.
the top.
I planted it in there.
Pal, sure didn't. That's preparedness that you don't see the likes of on other podcasts, folks. We just don't got it. We just don't.
All right. Well, while I add that, let me describe to you what it is. This is we'll be like the viewers. We'll just visualize in our minds here. Here, hold on. I'll pull up the old Google machine. We'll fire that up real quick. Land of Lincoln trophy. Is it the hat looking? Is it the
top hat?
Is it the little top hat guy?
It sure is.
So we've got a top hat on like a wooden platform kind of thing.
It's a bronze top hat, and it like I guess like Lincoln's top hat. Is that what's supposed to be like Abraham Lincoln?
That's a good guess with the trophy names of the Land of Lincoln.
Circle gets the square. All right.
Yeah. So this is it was made based off of Lincoln's old top hat, which if you guys are struggling to visualize that and you're a Monopoly fan, it kind of looks like the top hat piece.
It's got like a bow on the front.
Game. Yeah.
Kind of a pilgrim look.
It looks like it because we have a couple different angles of it. So from the top, you can clearly see that it's the top hat, but like when you're looking at it from like
side view,
a side view, or if like it's being hoisted in the air, it just kind of looks like a bucket
or like a cake, like a cake.
Oh, a cake, yeah.
Because you can't see the bottom brim.
Right. You can see the little bow, but it does. It looks like a nice bronze.
And then
cake.
look on the side, it's got a plaque that says Land of Lincoln trophy.
Oh, you know what it actually looks like? It's like a big, like molten lava cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's lunchtime here, so we might be a little hungry. So let me segue here to the history. Let me give you some history on this rivalry overall. So the first matchup between the two schools was in 1892. And that first match ended in a tie, 16-16.
Okay.
Yes. And then the second matchup the next year between the two schools was another tie, 0-0. So it was pretty riveting start to the rivalry here. So overall, Illinois holds the series lead, but it's very close. So it's 55 wins, 54 losses, and 5 ties. So it was really just one loss.
They started out hot with the ties and then didn't have that many after there. I see how it is.
So it's very close. And kind of as Joe alluded to earlier, Northwestern has won 8 out of the last 11 between these two schools. So
Wildcats getting hot. Yeah.
Yeah. Pat Fitzgerald returning as head coach to his alma mater.
I thought he was leaving for the pros for a little bit.
Yeah, he's definitely turned them around, with Northwestern being a very academic school that's not usually concerned about getting players for scholarships and playing for sports. They've really turned it around.
Can we also take a moment to acknowledge this weight training coach?
Oh my God! Well? Yes,
I didn't have that in my notes, but I just came to me. I'm like, this guy is intense.
We will add a picture of him. Yeah. The best way to describe him is his biceps are just constantly bursting out of his polo shirt that he wears.
Yep.
High
Sleeveless
energy.
Usually.
Yeah, even in the cold, when it's snowing, everyone else wearing sleeves. He's never wearing sleeves.
But like that's a qualification for being a really good strength coach. Like I would think that they conduct all of their interviews. Like if you are a school, you have to conduct your strength coach's interview in a freezer. And if he walks in there wearing like sleeveless or just, oh my gosh.
So I want to make a correction, not sleeveless. It just appears sleeveless because they are so tight. This guy is huge.
His polo sleeves just like run right off of the shirt when he puts them on. Dude, he is a mod. I love that he wears it. There's nothing like a good strength to get. Like Bama has a really good one too. Like nothing like a good strength. And this guy goes viral like every year for his antics. I don't want to say antics.
It remains. It remains to be seen whether or not he's actually good at his job, but he is definitely a very good hype man.
Dude, I mean, he's absolutely good at his job.
He's in shape himself. So.
He is in shape, but I don't know if that's necessarily translated to,
he gets he's got a bunch of Northwestern nerds like getting yoked out of their minds and playing good football.
So his name is Alex Spanos. Medium husky. Looks like I did see a special. They all the players claim that they actually said he wears large or XL, and it just looks like they're mediums. Yeah, mediums probably.
Medium. Yeah, that dude is a monster. But hey, to be a successful program, it lives and dies.
He's doing something right. They've been winning.
Yeah.
No, he's definitely a player favorite.
I'm not sure I want to credit it all to him, but not ready to do that.
I will. I'll credit.
Okay.
All right, so why don't I give you, now that you know the history of the rivalry a little bit, why don't I get into this history of this trophy, which I had obviously said there's been now 5 iterations of a trophy. So
this is the 5th iteration of the trophy.
Correct. So why don't we start at number 1? But before we get to that, why don't we start at the beginning? So this first trophy was introduced on November 22nd, 1941, and it's called the Fire Bell Trophy.
Yeah.
So I know what you're gonna ask me. You ask me this every week, Mike. What was life like in 1941?
Yeah, wait, hold on. What was it? 1941.
Yes.
What was the date?
So this is November 22nd.
Oh, so like 2 weeks before Pearl Harbor.
Yes, you're kind of stealing my thunder here, but why don't I give
you?
I
love doing that.
some fun facts here of the year. Which fun fact number 1 is something that Joe's gonna love. So Captain America Comics number 1 issues the first Captain America and Bucky comic was introduced of them together.
I actually just watched What If yesterday. I watched the first 2 episodes of What If. The first one was all about Captain Carter and everything. So love that. Love that. Second one was really good. Star-Lord as T'Challa as Star-Lord.
Yes.
Chadwick Boseman. Awesome.
Yeah, for our listeners here, Joe's not a Marvel guy, so
not a big Marvel fan.
So the second fact here is Joe Dimaggio. So his 56 game hitting streak began in 1941 as the Yankees played the White Sox. He went 1 for 4, and that started his streak.
Do it. All he is 1.
And then NBC aired the world's first legal television commercial. Can you guys guess what brand it was? It is the brand that Procter is still around. It is not. It is. So I'll give you a genre. It is a apparel accessory.
Apparelous accessory.
Apparel accessory.
Oh, apparel. I thought it was like a perilous accessory. I'm like, what? A dangerous accessory? Like what? Like a.
I'm gonna go some kind of belt.
Nope.
Hat. A top hat.
It is not a top hat. It's actually a watch.
Okay.
So can you give me the brand? Do you have any ideas?
Rolex.
No. Belova.
Belova.
Yeah. Belova watches.
Right.
First legal television commercial, which is pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah.
It's not that long ago.
Yeah, really not.
Wonder Woman, the comics began production in 1941, which is pretty interesting.
Big year for comics. Okay.
And as you guys have mentioned, obviously on December 6th, 1941, the attack on Pearl Harbor, which was obviously kind of gives you an idea of what life was like in America at that time in the middle of World War II. And then to kind of end this segment on a little bit of a happier note, the Boston Bruins won their 3rd Stanley Cup.
How is that a happier note?
Yeah, I don't think any of us are happy about that one.
Yeah.
Especially because they defeated the Detroit Red Wings and a sweep, 4 games to
that's
nothing.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Let's go back to talking about Pearl Harbor.
All right. So the Fire Bell Trophy. So if you guys want to go ahead and look at what I labeled picture 1, just for the listeners here, we're using a new system here to show them pictures since we want to save some trees. We didn't print it out.
Very technical here.
Yes. So that's this is the Fire Bell Trophy, which was used in 1941 and 1942. So let me
only 2 years for this.
Only
thing?
2 years.
I mean, it's just a fire.
And you're gonna tell us why?
Yes. So why don't I read you how it was described at the time by the Chicago Tribune? So the Tribune wrote, "A new football trophy will take its place alongside the famed Little Brown Jug of the Minnesota-Michigan rivalry and the Old Oaken Bucket, battled for each year by Purdue and Indiana when Saturday's game is over. The Wildcats and the Illini will be battling for a 100-year-old fire bell taken from the loft of a fire station in Oshkosh, Wisconsin."
That's badass.
R.J. Erdlitz, father of Dick Erdlitz, the Northwestern senior quarterback, will present the trophy to Northwestern's athletic director, Tug Wilson, and Doug Mills, who is the Illinois director of athletics.
Dougie and Dougie.
At a joint alumni luncheon of the two schools in Bismarck Hotel at noon today.
I mean, that's cool as hell. I think that's sweet. So why did they only have this thing for 2 years? Like, it's 100 years old in 1940 and they got to have some fire. That's dope.
Did maybe a director steal it or anything?
Yeah. Tug and Doug, like,
well, wouldn't you guys love to know? So just to give you guys an idea, it's 2 feet in height and it's literally a fire bell that's fastened to a wooden base.
It looks kind of like Liberty Bell-esque.
Yeah.
And so Northwestern won this inaugural game in 1941 with this trophy. They won it 27-0. And then the second matchup the following year, the Illini defeated Northwestern 14-7. And the trophy was handed over to Illinois following that game. So now let me know if you've ever heard this before, but the trophy went missing after that game.
What was happening in the early 1900s?
Is this a mystery podcast?
Yeah. So the mystery of all these trophies being stolen in the early part of the 20th century. So what happened to the bell from that moment on is a total mystery. So no further mention of the bell is made by the Daily Northwestern, the Chicago Tribune, or any other known source.
Inside job.
The Chicago Tribune was too busy talking about old fashions.
Yes. So
right, they're too drunk. They're just kind of like, who cares about some dumb bell? Give me another drink.
So neither the Northwestern or the University of Illinois archives has any record of the bell after 1942. However, there are some theories, and this theory does make a lot of sense.
Tell me there's a smug man in a cardigan involved.
There is not. The
That's
likeliest
what we need to look for. Then this is a cold case. Let's crack it.
Well, here we go. The likeliest theory that I came across was that it was sacrificed in a scrap
after 100 years
in a scrapped metal drive. So between late 1942 and late 1943, college campuses across the country were conducting massive scrap drives for the war effort.
That makes sense.
So a bell like the fire bell, which was made back in the 1840s, which would have been made with bell metal, which was like a bronze with a high copper content, that would have been very, very valuable and desirable.
That makes sense.
That's
why no one talked about it. It's just, went to the war effort. So, okay. All right. I could, that's
time for a new trophy.
Yeah.
Yes. So the rivalry went a couple years before they introduced a new trophy. So they went, I think, like 2 or 3 matchups. So in 1945, the Northwestern and Illinois student newspaper started a contest to find a new replacement for the trophy for the rivalry. And the papers launched a search for a wooden cigar store Indian to represent the rivalry.
That's very specific.
It's very specific. I would say, given my choice of an old bucket and a cool cigar shop statue, I'd probably pick the cigar shop.
You would
statue.
think if you were in charge, if you were like on a committee, for example, of like how to a rivalry that represents your state. Well, I guess that's not really.
But after seeing what happened with the little brown jug, you're just asking for that thing to be stolen, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's a little bit hard to hide a massive cigar store Indian.
So the two newspapers launched this search, and the Northwestern chapter of Acacia, is that the fraternity? Acacia. Okay. Yeah. Excuse me.
Like the tree. Yeah.
Yes. So the Acacia, they found the cigar store antique statue that was carved in 1833. And so once they found that, brought that to the table, it shifted to find a suitable name for the trophy.
I just love how, because really, if you had to ask, time is a flat circle, because I'm pretty sure if you ask a kid today what would be a dope trophy for a rivalry, I'm pretty sure something like a cigar store Indian would show up there. Maybe maybe something a little more modern that the college appeals to the college kids. Like when we were at school, maybe beer bong, but that I'm back.
This thing's 100 years old at this point.
I mean, cool. Some beer bongs were 100 years old. We actually had an octo bong, which had 8 little tubes coming out of it back in school. That thing was pretty sweet. You could fit, had compartments for each tube. A lot of kids got swine flu from drinking. We think that was patient zero for the swine flu. It all happened.
Those have been retired since COVID started.
So unveiled the week before the 1945 matchup between the two schools, Sweet Sioux was the winning entry submitted by Bob Mitchell. So Sioux, like the Sioux Indians. Yeah. And I'm going to apologize ahead of time because I'm inevitably going to say Sweet Lou after Sweet Lou Whitaker, the second baseman for the Tigers, because it's just a habit. So if I do say Sweet Lou, it's a mistake. It is actually Sweet Sioux, like the Indians. So Bob Mitchell submitted the winning entry, and it isn't known for certain, but the inspiration for the entry might have been a Warner's Brother cartoon from several years before, which had the same title.
This thing is
so. If you guys want to go ahead, and look at pictures 2 and 3. That's what Sweet Sioux
is. That so there's So it's a cigar store Indian. It looks like a young woman Indian, and then a squaw, I believe is the term. So. And is that a tomahawk? Is that?
It looks like it. Yeah.
Did Sweet Sioux come with their own tomahawk?
Yeah, they might have
chop action. That's.
Yeah, he's holding. Although he's holding it, so it looks like it's removable.
Yes. So this statue was in play in 1946 or in 1945, excuse me. And then before the 1946, you're never going to believe it, but the trophy went missing.
Oh no! How do you
Shocker.
lose? I mean, this it's like a full-size child with a tomahawk.
Well, yeah, 3 or 4 feet tall.
How does this go missing?
Yeah, it's not like a set of car keys or anything like that, right?
Yeah, or a jug.
I now see why the Stanley Cup has a minder who keeps white gloves and is with it 24/7.
Yeah.
It will never go missing.
Where there are rabid fans, there are thieves.
Yeah, that's
what we've learned, especially in the Midwest, apparently.
Yeah.
You talk about Midwest nice. Midwest nice doesn't apply if you want something, you take it. That's apparently. Possession is 9/10 of the law.
It was a different kind of world back in the beginning of the 20th century.
I mean, but then again, I could see if this was a trophy in a modern day rivalry, absolutely getting stolen
for sure. So both schools decided to replace Sweet Sioux with a tomahawk at the beginning of the 1946. So that's when the Sweet Sioux tomahawk was born. So the statue ended up resurfacing sometime later, but the schools opted to keep the tomahawk because it was easier to transport.
Yeah, you think?
So it was decided right before the 1946 game that no matter who won, the statue would stay at Northwestern for the next 5 years, and the statue's tomahawk would become the new prize for the victor. Originally, it was rumored that the tomahawk that came with the statue was going to be the trophy. However, there's a lot of conflicting information on whether the statue originally had a tomahawk in his hand. I think in the first picture you guys saw,
it shows
it's broken. Something's broken off of it.
Oh, yeah.
And so they weren't originally sure what exactly that was.
Yeah, you can see the statue and then a man next to it holding the tomahawk. So it looks like it's been removed or
right.
Attached.
So it seems that they used a different version, like a different tomahawk than what allegedly came with the statue.
And easier to hoist. I mean, sure. I guess if you're a football player, you probably don't have much trouble lifting up Sweet Sioux. But this tomahawk is dope. I love this thing.
It's got feather hanging off.
Yeah, the feather on the handle. And then I love the blade of the tomahawk. Looks like it has engraved the Oh, it has Northwestern,
Illinois football series.
Yeah, it has the year and the score. That's dope. I love that.
Pretty intricate on the handle.
So I'm glad you guys really like it because it only lasted 1 year.
Let me guess. Someone stole it.
No, it actually was not the case. But the Acacia fraternity, Acacia. I'm sorry, I keep saying it wrong.
Yeah.
Acacia
bread.
Acacia. Yeah. So the fraternity that originally discovered Sweet Sue actually reclaimed the trophy, so they got to keep it. So the statue actually remained in their fraternity house until a 1985 fire that Sweet Sue statue unfortunately fell victim to.
They're like, I mean, a fraternity, other than like suspect number one, smug guy in a cardigan. Suspect number two, any fraternity, especially Acacia, not a real fraternity named after a stupid tree. Yeah, I know. Shots fired. But yeah, I mean, but I can absolutely see a bunch of frat bros absconding with Sweet Sue in the middle of the night.
I mean, imagine how cool that would have been, though, for a solid like 40 years. They got to have this statue in their fraternity house to pass down.
I mean, a lot of fraternities now have like the party buck where it's the buck and you're like, hey, like it's a mounted buck, deer,
Okay.
And you have stuff hanging off the antlers. I can only imagine if it like Sweet Sue was a thing today, like she'd be holding like a beer bong. You know, she would be,
for sure,
dressed up for different occasions, different parties. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So, like I had mentioned, that tomahawk, the first version of it only lasted for 1 year, and they reintroduced a second tomahawk the next year in 1947. So the Sweet Sue Tomahawk 2 was introduced in 1947, with one of the major changes being from the first one was that the scores were engraved directly on a polished plate attached to the blade. But while I was researching, it's unclear whether they continued to engrave the school's scores on the blade once it was full, or if they stopped doing that, or if they would replace
like with the
plate,
because
it's not a very big.
Like with the Stanley Cup, how they replace a ring, like replace the blade.
If you guys look at picture 4, picture 4 is the Tomahawk 2.
Yeah, we're looking. I mean, Joe, what do you think? Because like when we compare the first two tomahawks, like the second one, like the handle looks like it's
like metal almost.
Yeah. And I kind of like the first one, but I think the first one's more.
First one's got more character. Yeah. The second one looks more kind of a utility based. Like it's not as detailed.
This one's authentic. More like this one's more for show. Yeah, I would say the other one's for go. The original's like
100%
legit. You know, like this one's seen some.
Well, I think there's something to be said for engraving or putting the score or the rivalry tallies on the actual piece itself, the trophy itself, rather than a plaque.
That would actually be dope if you did the original one with the wooden handle. Like if you did like a Northwestern side and Illinois side of the handle, and you just put notches in it, that would have been pretty.
Well, it would only last so long unless you made it longer and longer each year. But the first one, it looked like it had it on the blade. They kind of sculpted it in there.
Yeah. No, this is I like the first one more, but still, like a hatchet's cool though. Except, like, can you imagine you get beef with a guy during a game after you win? Like, you just take after him with the hatchet, with the tomahawk, I guess. Hatchet. That's a same thing.
So this trophy, the Sweet Sue Tomahawk 2, was used from 1947 through the late 60s when it was replaced by another updated Tomahawk. So the retired Tomahawk 2, like all other versions of the Sweet Sue statues and tomahawks, are housed behind closed glass at Northwestern, right next to where they would put the Land of Lincoln trophy when they're in possession of it. So this transitions into Sweet Sue Tomahawk 3. So this was started in 1970, and this is the Sweet Sue tomahawk that became a framed representation of the tomahawk itself. And so it's like in glass, and it has the tomahawk attached to it, and then it has below it an engraved plate.
So they're definitely just trying to make it, like I said, so that murders are not committed after the game and people are chasing after each other with a tomahawk.
Right. Yeah, they're making it a little safer here.
Which is, I mean, come on, let the kids play. Let the kids play. You know, if you lose, you might get a tomahawk. It's like that's just the way she goes. That's the spoils of war, baby.
And
I think it just adds to the history of it. You know, tomahawk to the face, history.
Right. I mean, that's volunteers for you. Listen, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, no, definitely. So this version of the tomahawk actually lasted longer than any other version, and this spanned from 1970 to 2008.
2008.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So why are we at the land of Lincoln Trophy? Why did after having all of this cool tomahawks, why did they change it?
Same reason we had the Washington football team and the Cleveland Guardians, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I thought that when we saw the first
Sweet Sue
statue, it was bound to be an issue.
Yeah, check out our Instagram because Sweet Sue is super problematic. That just would not.
I don't think there was any ill intention, but
no.
But you can see the problems coming
because Illinois has a very rich history of Native Americans in the state and attached to the University of Illinois as well. So starting in 2007, the NCAA required that the University of Illinois eliminate all use of Native American icons and symbols, including the team's mascot, Chief Illinois, which I don't know if you guys remember. They used to have like a Florida State style Indian that would ride on a horse with the big garb. So they used to have their mascot that would do that all the way up until 2007. And here's a little fun fact for you guys. The word Illinois is actually the French pronunciation of the Native American word Illinois or Illinois, which literally means best people. So Illinois' Native Americans named that state the state of best people. And adapted the French pronunciation of it.
I mean, I went to Chicago. Lovely people there. Love Chicago. Fantastic city. So, I mean, yeah, I guess from I'll go with that. That's fine. Also love Chicago Fire, PD, Med, all on NBC. Excellent shows. They seem like great folks, So
that's what
decent pizza.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's
Italian beef. They just have some good food.
Great food.
They
just do it right out there. Man. Yeah. Like the food in the Midwest. Oh gosh.
The lake is a double-edged sword. It's wonderful in the summer and miserable in the winter.
Well, so we went in May, end of May, and it was freezing cold one of the days. Like terribly cold. Like and it's May. Like I just am visiting on vacation. I'm out there in shorts, and all of a sudden it's like 40 degrees, and that wind is just crushing you coming off the lake.
Yeah.
It's one of those cities where it's like two different cities in the winter and summer. It's completely opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I the biggest thing I was surprised about when I flew in was like beaches. Like see like there's like
right there
beaches. I'm like, wow, that's not something I really thought about.
Expected.
No, it's a pretty cool thing, especially if you get to go in the summer when it's warm enough. It's really cool. They have the river that goes through the city, which is also very, very cool. I actually took an architecture boat tour, which I didn't think I would necessarily enjoy that much, but it was actually really interesting to hear why the various buildings in Chicago, why they are created the way they are, because they are very intentional with their designs.
Is it because of the wind that comes off the lake, or does it have to
no, it depends. Each one's built differently, and the designer had a different purpose why. So a lot of the times when you have full glass buildings, the reason behind that is they want the building to blend in with the surrounding environment. So in that case, the river. So that's a lot of the reason. If you see a full glass building, a lot of the times the architectural reason is so that it doesn't stick out. It actually blends in with whatever it's reflecting off of.
Gotcha.
Whatever is reflecting off of it. Yeah.
Fun facts.
Yeah, a little fun fact there. So kind of segueing back to Sweet Sue here in 2008. So in 2007 was when the NCAA made Illinois eliminate all the use they forced them of the American icons and symbols. So then in 2008, the NCAA expanded that decision to eliminate the use of any other icons and symbols, including the Sweet Sue Tomahawk trophy.
So I'm guessing they didn't. I know the kind of the Florida State story, how they have worked very closely with the tribes, the Seminoles, to get permissions and do that the right way and make sure that they're honoring them in a positive light. So I'm guessing Illinois didn't necessarily have those kind of approvals.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is from what I understand. And I know the tomahawk chomps and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that are even changing, even if you get to keep some of the history of Native American with your logo or your name, even some of the actions and stuff still have to change.
Sure.
So the schools announced the week before the 2008 game that the trophy would be retired after the game, and regardless of who won, the trophy, the Tomahawk, would rest at Northwestern for good. And Northwestern ended up winning that final game of the Tomahawk series, 27-10.
So wait, so Northwestern gets to keep it? Like that was decided before the game.
Yep.
What the hell makes them so special? I mean, Illinois was the one that had the guy riding on the horse. They're just a bunch of dumb Wildcats. No offense.
I think it's because it was the fraternity was a Northwestern chapter
gotcha.
of the fraternity. So
Gotcha.
I don't know for sure.
Yeah. That dude's like, we're keeping the Tomahawk out. You think he still uses it? Like I mean, it's still on campus. He just brings it into the weight room and he's like, just imagine trying to like max out on bench and this dude's just like on top of you with the tomahawk.
Sure.
That's motivation, baby. I love that.
So if you guys are, if any of you guys are ever in Chicago, if you just go a little bit further north of Chicago to Evanston, which I believe is within 30 to 45 minutes, we're on Northwestern's campus, you can actually go there and see the two versions of the Tomahawk and potentially the Land of Lincoln if Northwestern's in possession of it. So you can go and see those things, which is pretty cool. So getting to 2009 here, after the Sweet Sioux was retired, Northwestern and Illinois announced that they would hold another contest to determine the successor trophy. And after getting a lot of entries, they landed on 4 finalist ideas. So these 4 finalist ideas included the President's Trophy, named after the state's 4 presidents, the Popcorn Bowl, named after the Illinois state snack.
Oh, love Garrett's popcorn.
The Graham Grange Fire Bell, named after the 2 of the greatest players at each school.
So another bell.
Yes. And then the eventual winner, the Land of Lincoln Trophy.
No cigar store Indians this time.
No. And you guys know I'm already going to ask you this, but who were the 4 presidents that claim Illinois as their home state?
I know one.
Yeah.
So honestly, all 4 are very well known. One should be very obvious.
Yeah, Lincoln.
So Abraham Lincoln's one. The other 3 you're Obama's too.
We're halfway there.
Yeah, without a prayer, baby.
You got any hints?
So one is on currency, but not old, not super old. And was it
Jackson?
And was a general.
Jackson? Who's
a general?
A general. So Franklin's on the 100. Grant.
Ulysses S. Grant is from Illinois, and the last one is a very, very famous Republican president. Ronald Reagan.
Oh,
those are the 4 states. That's actually when I saw that, I don't even know if Michigan technically has a claim for any of the presidents. I know Gerald Ford spent a lot of his time, so I think he might claim Michigan, but he's technically born elsewhere and was just spending time in Grand Rapids as a kid. But to have 4 and to have those 4, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. I was just thinking too, like kind of like I'm looking at this tomahawk here. How fun is axe throwing? Is that not like such a great like thing?
You think back then they were throwing this thing?
Oh, I had to, and I guarantee the strength and conditioning coach is checking around now.
Yeah, he is.
He's got a ball of Boone's Farm.
You know what I was gonna say? EJ was mentioning if you're in Evanston to go check it out. How about a trip? You know?
Oh my gosh,
Whiskers and Whiskey's trip up there. Yeah, check it out. Get a photo.
As hell.
Maybe throw some axes with. Maybe hang out with the strength and conditioning coach.
Oh yeah, he'd be down. He'd be down to have
throw a few beers back.
Yeah, throw some beers back.
Whiskey.
Yeah, love it. That would be dope as hell. I love axe throwing. Like whoever first decided to like open, because it's everywhere now, like these axe throwing places, whoever decides like, yeah, we're gonna combine throwing sharp objects and booze.
I mean, I'm pretty sure this like was invented on a farm with alcohol involved, where it was like someone brought some friends from the city and it was just a routine that they did, and they realized that people would pay money to do something that they already do.
We can make a lot of money off of this. There's a great drinking game that we play in Western Pennsylvania called Stump.
Yeah, of course.
You get the stump, you get the nails.
Yes. Oh yeah, we played it in Erie.
Yeah. I mean, so super fun game, also super dangerous. But hey, that's to let you know. That's to let you know you're alive. You get a stump. You put some nails partway into the stump, and then you have a hammer. You flip the hammer in the air, and however you catch it, you have to like in one continuous motion hit your nail. And there's like a drink game around. If you miss, you drink. If you
first person to hit their nail into the wood wins.
Yeah, and it's super fun.
I've also played a version of it where you hit other people's, where you want to not hit yours, and if you hit other people's, they get knocked
There's
out.
Different variations.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
A little defense.
Something that I actually found interesting that I really didn't know, just a quick side note here, is Abraham Lincoln was actually not born in Illinois. He was raised in Illinois. He was actually born in Kentucky, which is something. So he just claims Illinois as his home state because he grew up there.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So the winning, getting back to the trophy here, the winning entry described the Land of Lincoln trophy as a representation of Lincoln's stovepipe hat fixed to a wooden base. So that was the idea that won. So the schools gave the concept to the Pulitzer Prize winning cartoonist and Naperville local Dick Loker, who ultimately designed the trophy. So if you guys look at picture 6, that's Dick Loker with his design. Okay. And
he's
for you guys,
his name isn't just a little bit different. Just like just a couple of layers changing that last name, and all of a sudden, I mean, this guy, I'm just looking at him. There's absolutely 1,000% chance he's been called Dick Looker. Like, there's just
probably
absolutely. Is there a Dick Looker here? That's Looker.
Present.
His last name's spelt with a CH, so it could be Lotcher. I'm sure people.
Dick Locker. That's
I'm sure there was a lot of issues. I obviously made sure Loker is how he pronounces it.
No, this
good
guy's
research.
This
good
guy's
research.
Dick Locker. Absolutely.
So that was, when was this one started?
In 2009.
And that's still present?
Yes, and that is through present. So if you guys aren't familiar with Dick Loker, he was
Locker.
The artist of the Dick Tracy comics. So that's how he won his Pulitzer Prize. So it's pretty cool. A local guy that they brought in for it.
Also inventor. If you need to store your phallic objects somewhere, the Dick Locker.
The personal items.
This is a family-friendly podcast that has now gone off the rails, probably due to the mixture of caffeine and alcohol.
a lot of caffeine in cold brews.
All right, guys. So that completes the story. Why don't we get into our rankings here? So, Joe, just to familiarize you with how we rank these things. We rank looks on a scale from 1 to 5, history of the trophy 1 to 5, the rivalry on a scale from 1 to 5, and then overall, do you put it in a bottom tier, a middle tier, or a top tier? So why don't we start with you, Joe?
Sure.
You're the guest.
So which one do you want to start with?
Why don't we start with looks? Where do you rate that?
So looks, I probably give it a 3. I think it's pretty cool. It's definitely top hat.
Where are we ranking here?
We're ranking. Well, let's do the Land of Lincoln.
All right, so Sweet Sue, she's out of the picture.
We were doing those. That's a different story.
Yeah, we cannot
Sweet
be.
Sue,
Yeah, right.
We don't want on record what our thoughts of that would be in this cancel culture.
Fair enough.
So the top hat, it's cool. I think it's not necessarily as authentic or creative as the previous one. So I'll give it a 3. Is there anywhere on there that it records the record?
That's a good question. I don't believe.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, it looks like there's a plate on the front that has just the name. Yeah. So it's just whoever gets it keeps it for that year. Okay. And then what was the next category?
History. So the story behind this particular Land of Lincoln trophy.
Yeah. So this one itself, I'd give it a 2, just because this trophy doesn't have the history. I think the previous ones would be higher ranked, but like you said, we're not going to do those ones. So this one, probably a 2. The story of this rivalry itself has good history, but not necessarily this trophy.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And then the rivalry itself.
Rivalry itself. Probably going to go with a 2 as well. As of late, it's getting better. I think it's going up, but it just hasn't been there. Neither team has really proven too much, especially in the Big Ten itself. So probably 2.
And then, so where does that sit overall for you? Is that going to be? It sounds like it's not a top tier. Is that more of a middle or a bottom tier?
I'd say probably a bottom tier.
Okay.
The story of this rivalry is interesting for sure. But the current state, the current rivalry, the current trophy, I'd say bottom tier.
Okay, great. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Looks wise, like you go from a top hat or from a tomahawk to a top hat, like that's not a great look for old Dick Looker here. I mean, it's a 2. It's just a top hat. I mean, like it's like when you consider what they used to have versus what they have now, like I get why they changed it and everything, but like
it's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
Unfortunate that the circumstances that they couldn't find a way to honor the tribe and keep that.
Yeah, that would have been cool if they could have found a way to come together on that. But I get that. And also I think it'd be dope if you could like actually wear the hat. Like it's just a hat on a plaque. Like
you pull the players after the game wearing this around the field and
hey,
pictures.
Not to plug a future season here, but I did not know and now do know that the Red River rivalry actually has an item to it, which is a golden hat that they wear.
Yep.
That you can wear.
Yeah. And that'd be awesome if they were doing that here. Like
missed opportunity.
Yeah, at 100%. So that's, I mean, it's it's a 1.
Okay.
It's a 1. The missed opportunity, because it's a
talk yourself into a
missed
1.
opportunity. The looks, it's a 1.
What do we got for history?
I mean, again, I love the theft aspect of it. That's pretty sweet. If we're just talking about like the land of Lincoln trophy and what it is now, like that's a freaking 1. But I think the whole thing with like the bell, like the original bell, that was sweet. I like the like Sweet Sue and the tomahawks, like that was all cool and all the different iterations. So like history overall, I think it's a 3.
And what about the rivalry?
1, it stinks. I don't really care about seeing Illinois and Northwestern play. Although, like the strength and conditioning coach is the man.
Let's just get that guy out there.
Shout out to Spanos. He's the man. But like,
so this is a bottom then for you.
Yeah, it is.
Interesting. So I'm going to go a different angle here than what you guys have. So overall, I think the look, I have it as like a 3. I think again, given the circumstances, I think it's at least very unique to Illinois. I think given the other ideas that they had on the table, I think this was probably the best one that they could come up with, between popcorn and presidents and
dude,
and
like do not slander Garrett's popcorn. You get a little bit of like that. You get the cheddar and cheese mix one. Oh my gosh,
Chicago mix.
Yeah, so that's a traditional. Yeah.
So right, good, so good. And the president's trophy, like that could be like the president's cup. It could be something sweet. This is just a hat that you can't even wear.
And he wasn't born in Chicago, or in
but
Illinois.
It is, but it is a cool hat. So I don't know. I like the idea that it is a hat which is different than any other trophy you're going to come across. Very rarely. There's only a handful of hats, I would say.
You just mentioned.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
but I would. Okay. So of like 200 trophies,
wearable.
You can't even wear the hat though.
Yeah. And you know what? After about 4 versions of their trophy being stolen, I don't blame them for making it maybe a little bit harder to steal, giving it a platform. And
Midwesterners quit stealing. It'd be so much cooler if you didn't steal.
We're gonna have to shift to a different region here to
all
the theft. It's unbelievable.
And for history, for me, I gave it a 3. I think, given the circumstance, again, like obviously I think they had a pretty cool history and a rich history with the other trophies. Obviously they had no choice but to change it. And I think they at least going with Abraham Lincoln was a good idea. I think it was cool that they had a local cartoonist create it. So I'm going to give it a little bit more credit than you guys did. And for the rivalry, I'm also going to give this more credit because while it's not a well-known rivalry or while it's not a powerhouse, they're not typically on the national stage, it is a very evenly matched game that is important because there's plenty of big matchups, like even like say Michigan State, that's been so lopsided for so many years with Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan, that gets all the hype. But again, for the last 20 years, it's been just one-sided. So I appreciate, while they're not very good, and I don't know that this would be my choice of game if I got to pick, I appreciate that it's very evenly matched and it's pretty much who knows will win.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So that's where I just see it a little different. But
what's the rivalry at for you? What's your score on the rivalry?
So I'm gonna actually give it a 4, just because of its. But my interpretation is not because it's nationally known, but it's an evenly matched rivalry.
Yeah, it matters a lot to the kids there.
So then I have it as like a medium to low. I definitely don't think it's on the higher end of medium. I think it's towards the bottom.
So it's like a low and a half.
Yeah, a low and a half. So that's kind of where I see it. So just a reminder for the listeners here, this game is actually going to be played at the end of the year on November 27th, and we will make sure to remind you all to tune in that week with the various games that are going on. So that's going to do it for us this week. Check out our Instagram page at whiskers.whiskey to see the pictures from this week's episode as well as past episodes. Join us next week as we dive into another in-state battle, but this time we'll be discussing the Cy-Hawk Trophy. So for Mike and Joe, I'm EJ. Always remember, too much of anything is bad, but too much good whiskey is bad enough.
Cheers.